Welcome to another episode of the Vet Hustle Podcast. Now, I'm still under 10 episodes, but I'm starting to enjoy it. I'm starting to get my rhythm in. And today is a special one because I'm going to introduce him to you in a minute, but I get to smoke me a cigar in podcast, or one of my two favorite things in this world to do. So when I get to do them together, that just makes my day even better. I'm going to introduce you to my guest today. Whatever. Introduce yourself. I can't do it like, Jonathan Wills. What they call you? I can't remember the name they call you. Sometimes they come in.
Well, my college nickname was Curly.
Yeah, I was trying to think of Curly.
That was my college nickname from, actually got that college nickname back in 95.
Nice.
Yep. At that point, I had long curly hair that come all the way down to my shoulders.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you, like, is there, can you actually tell that story or
Yeah, oh yeah.
the origin of it?
So, actually, the true origin of the story is us sitting in German class with another friend of ours, Rob Alderman. We had to do these little skits where we had to present a subject to the class. And so, German, unlike English, but like a lot of other languages, you have the, but you have male, female, and neuter version of it.
Okay.
So you had der, die, and das.
Okay.
So we kind of came up with this really kind of crazy idea where we were on a battlefield and he was dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the middle of it, he goes, "Curly one, before I die, I want to learn der, die, and das." So we just kind of went into this little thing off of that. And from that Curly one, it became Curly.
Curly, yeah.
Now, what was hilarious is in college is all of a sudden I'd be walking across the school or the Pag Mall or whatever, and all of a sudden, "Hey, Curly!" It's like, okay, who's calling me that?
Right.
Okay, someone knows me.
That's cool. Well, I like that story. So, this one's special because actually I do this podcast for you and Stephen Rainwater.
Yep.
Now, explain to them who you guys are. And I want to have Stephen on the podcast as well soon, but explain what your roles are.
So, me and Stephen met back in 2013, 2014. We were both in the 101st together. I've had some business experience and things like that. Before I went in the military, as I used to tell people, I'm like, I don't have a business degree. I don't have a business degree from an accredited university. I've got one from the School of Hard Knocks. And so at the time, he had a business, and we were kind of talking about things. But then, we've kept our kind of friendship going over the last 10, 11 years. And so he had another business that COVID kind of ended up killing it. So we kind of started joining forces to bring about a way where we could take all of our knowledge, the things that we have succeeded at, failed at, or been successful or things of that nature, to help bring it to both veterans and people outside of the veteran community for running a business. What does it look like? How do you make decisions or things of that nature? So we actually have a company called Builder Growth Engine. We kind of have a couple of sections of it. We've got one branch that's called BG Army, which we're specifically gearing that towards the veteran community. Some place to go together, hang out, chat, ask other veterans questions, be able to have an area to kind of ask questions. It's one of those of, we sponsor and started that group because we've got a Facebook group, but it's not one of those where we are just driving like every day going, "Hey, this is what we do. Hey, this is what we do." Yeah. We're there to help you, but we want to help bring some value to the community. And so, Stephen's doing a lot of the stuff with that. One of the things that we do is we do websites, social media marketing, things of that nature. I play more in the back end side of that. I do a lot of the building the websites, Um, Not necessarily the stuff directly dealing with people, but I can. I've just been kind of peopled out for a little bit.
For sure, man. I like the fact that I tell people, even on my personal podcast, I tell people I'm big on community. You know, we're not meant to do life alone.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you need your alone time, your alone space, your personal time, but we're not meant to do life alone. Like
No.
we need people sometimes, especially people that go through the same thing, have been through the same thing that you.
Yeah.
I have a buddy named Chris. He's in a wheelchair. He's one of my closest friends. He can understand me sometimes more than my actual family can because he's in a wheelchair. He understands
Yep.
what it's like to be in a wheelchair and some of those hardships. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I enjoy that you guys allow me to be a part of. You know, what y'all are doing, and just getting to talk to just veterans. Like I was here the other day looking at. Now I know it's probably watered down and things like that, but like some of the boot camp YouTube things, and I know it's watered down, but like I want to kind of see how it is, and so I can ask questions like, so when we were watching, I was asking, so what is this? You know, if you know, but you're like, oh, I don't know, or
Yep.
you would tell me like, I'm interested in this because I want to be in y'all world. I want to understand. I may not be able to experience it, but that's okay. I want to understand what y'all go through.
And being able to, yeah, within the veteran community, we do all have that shared experience of basic things of that nature.
Mhm.
But being familiar with or even seeing it on a video, not necessarily experiencing it,
Mhm.
it's something that just you're trying to bridge those gaps. So
Mhm.
that way, in doing the podcast for us and doing that kind of stuff, you're able to not necessarily fully relate, but you're able to have a better understanding.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's what about bridging the gap. And you know, I think as I really catch my rhythm in doing this, you know, I can ask some questions that a best listening to, like, oh, I remember that, and also people that aren't in the military can say, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I learned something. I think if I can get that, I'll be a good host. Like like oh, I've made it.
I was going to say, and the thing is even if you were of that, there's still differences. As much as we kind of razz the other branches, there's things that the Air Force has done or the Marines done, or different things that it's not exactly the same, but we can kind of relate a little bit. So, but yeah.
Sure. Now, tell me your time in the military. How was that? How first of all, I'm gonna start with boot camp. When you got the boot camp, how was that? How did you feel about that?
So, so I went into the military a little late in life.
Mhm.
I had a business before went in the military. I had been running it for about 7, 8 years. 8 hit,
Mhm.
which if you remember '08, the economy went to shit,
Yeah.
and so did my business. And so in '09, when I went in, I was 32 when I signed my contract,
Wow.
33 when I did basic training. Closed my business, was going through a divorce, and over the next year and a half, ended up from that business and some of those decisions that I made
Mhm.
actually led to 3 bankruptcies.
Oh wow.
So when I say it's not necessarily from an accredited university or an accredited school, the School of Hard Knocks is expensive. So when I went to basic, it was one of those of I was really trying to get back to being true to myself.
Mhm.
What you know, I'd gotten so stuck in life and so stuck in a routine where it was just kind of frustrating, angry. Always trying to push, always trying to get the next thing, get the next thing, get the next contract, get the next sale, get the next thing, and all of a sudden it just basic for me was actually really, really easy
Mhm.
because right time, right place, right uniform. I had nothing else to worry about.
Yeah. I feel that. So talk to me about like being back to yourself, being true to yourself. Like, how has that helped you now? Take some stress off. You still got the stress.
I still got the stress. I mean, it's kind of slightly Um, Slightly different stress now.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to be true to myself, but then also still trying to deal with, you know, fun issues, things that come up. I'm Some people may find this really bad. I'm really fortunate. My youngest just turned 18, so I no longer have um, the other side to deal with, if you know what I mean. Um, but it's been one of those of getting back to the business. I was having a conversation the other day with my sister, and my sister's been in the same corporate America field for her entire life.
Wow.
She's been the accounting side, industrial, been in factories, things of that nature. And she's like, yeah, you just kind of bounce all over the place. I'm like, yes and no. I may bounce all over, but I'm all still in the same area.
Yeah.
She goes, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you started in accounting, and then you went to finance, and now you're, a director at a $4 billion a year company.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
My adult life, I've worked for myself,
Mm-hmm.
outside of the 6 years with Uncle Sam. So it's, just kind of being able to do that. And
How important is it for you to like work for yourself and not really have a boss?
I mean, I can have a boss. I have had a boss. The great thing that I love, I I tell people I'm a very independent thinker.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be the squeaky wheel at times when stupid is being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call stupid stupid.
Yeah.
Let's not candy coat it. Um, So I was telling a few people, I'm like, yeah, the military is one of the most anarchist organizations I know.
Okay.
In that, yeah, we have structure, we have the bosses, but you've got the chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
But good leaders and like that will call out issues, will stop some of that stupid. They'll, question it. Where corporate America isn't so much that way.
Yeah.
It's, well, why are we doing that? Well, we're just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's stupid. I really enjoy with running my own business, working for myself. Me and Steven were 50-50 owners. We kind of split what we do. He's more front facing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm more of the internal, the operations, the functions, what we do, how we do, keeping things moving, um, where he gets to be the face.
Yeah.
And, be the outside look. So we work really well that way.
Mm-hmm.
So technically by title, you could say that he's technically my boss because he's CEO and I'm COO, CFO.
Okay.
But we function well enough together where we're not tripping over each other.
Yeah, and it's always good when you have a business partner that you can laugh and laugh when it's time to joke. You can joke, but then when it's time to lock in and be serious,
Oh yeah.
It's always, if I ever get a business partner, I would want them to be. We could be cool, but when it's time to lock in and do stuff, let's get it done. So, before we continue, it's not an ad, but when I record the OCL, I was in the shop OCL out, and we're at Ocoee Cigar Lounge here in Cleveland, Tennessee. If you're ever around the neighborhood, come in, have a smoke with us. What are we smoking today? I just want to talk a little bit about the cigar before.
So, we're actually smoking the Crown Head Broadway. I actually don't know much about it. I am a cigar person. Let's see.
I don't know.
No, it ain't gonna work.
It ain't okay.
But we're here today. I actually work 2 days a week here at the lounge, which is actually kind of really cool because I get to come in. Chuck and Abu are the owners. Abu's also a Navy vet. They let me do my own business stuff, plus help with the shop.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great community to be able to just come in, ask questions, hang out, relax. If you want to talk, we'll talk.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk, guess what? Go sit in the corner by yourself, and everyone's going to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is one of those where... with Abu being a vet, we do have a lot of vets who do come in.
Yep.
So it's a very non-judgmental space. Unless you're an idiot.
It's probably one of my favorite places. And I will come here at least once a day and smoke a cigar, maybe two sometimes, depending on how long I'm here.
I joke that a lot of times when I'm not working here, I'm still working here.
Yeah, for sure. So I gotta get Abu on the podcast one time.
Yep.
We can get him away. He's a busy man.
He is.
But if I get him on the podcast, that'd be great. So back to our conversation.
So going back to kind of the basic side of things, I was fortunate when I went in. I say fortunate. I got to do basic training down at Fort Benning, which is the home of the infantry. I'm not infantry. I was aviation.
Okay.
Technically, my job was Black Hawk mechanic.
Okay.
But when I was on active duty, I was actually on the flight side of things.
Okay.
So so I was a crew chief. So my first deployment, I was in a medevac unit.
Okay.
In Afghanistan. So, it's one of those where I used to say, I love to fly, but I hate the reason that we have to go fly.
Yeah.
Someone's injured, someone's having a bad day, which is why we had to go fly.
Yeah.
But actually, kind of tying all three of the things together, that's actually where I really started to smoke a lot more, was in Afghanistan. Being in the medevac unit, we were up north a little bit from Kandahar, where we had a smaller group. So every 2 to 3 days, we were on first up. So we pretty much had an area about the size of a football field that we lived in, slept in,
oh, wow.
everything. And, for me being older, at this point I would have been 30, 34 or so. I had kids at home. They were with the ex-wife at the time. But there's only so many video games you can play, only so much TV you can watch, only so many things you can do. So, a good friend of mine, George, we'd go outside, we'd smoke. I really kind of give George a lot of credit when it comes to my smoking preference and like that, because he's like, smoke everything.
Yeah.
Smoke it all. Try it all. That way you can see what you like, what you don't like. And so that deployment, I really started smoking a lot more.
Yeah.
Really kind of fell in love with it.
I like that a lot. Like I said, I've been smoking almost 4 years now. And it's probably smoking has actually given me the opportunity to even know you to be doing this.
Yep.
So I attribute cigars to a lot of good things in my life recently, because it's put me in doors that I don't think I'd be in if I didn't smoke cigars.
And I'm going to say this just because some people, I think one of the things that's great about the cigar game, Brett, I know we're not necessarily talking about cigars like that, but you can find a friend almost anywhere. You walk into any cigar lounge, and it's like, hey, how you doing? Great. Come in, sit down, and it's kind of like walking into, your friend's house.
Yeah.
You walk into another business where all of a sudden you find out that there's a vet there. All of a sudden you have the shared common ground to be able to talk, to be able to share an experience, things of that nature. It's been really great.
Really great. So talk to me. You spent 6 years in the Army, and one day you wake up, you're not in the Army anymore. How was your mental state?
So, there we go. So I did 6 active.
Okay.
Then I was in the 101st when the 159th Aviation was being shut down, and so it was one of those of I'd done 3 years in Alaska.
Okay.
My kids are here in Southeast Tennessee. I was at Fort Campbell, 101st, 3.5 hours away. Come home every other weekend, come see my kids. Great. Called branch to try to figure out where I could go, and they're like, hey, you got Fort Bragg, Fort Lewis, or Korea? I'm like, no, I want to be close to my kids.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those of, as I was getting out, I was coming back home, being able to be with my kids. So that was great, but when I was getting out of the military, it was kind of one of those, trying to find a job, finding different things. Ended up joining the reserves for 6 years, did 6 years in the reserves.
Okay. So 12 years altogether.
12 years total.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of one of those, all of a sudden, you're back to kind of that reality where it's like, all right, it's no longer as simple as the right uniform, the right time, the right place, the right uniform. It's back to, oh, I can actually quit this job. and I did actually quit a job once where I put some time in. I got out of the military to be near my kids.
Yeah.
And I wanted, an evening off, needed an evening off to go see one of my kids. I forget what event that they were doing. And the employer was like, yeah, no, we can't do that. I'm like, okay, you don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here. And you either deal with it or I'm quitting.
For sure.
Because I didn't have a contract. It wasn't one of those where in the military it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, actually, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
It was back to having some freedom where I kind of looked at it and said, I'm going to be there for my kids. I was in the military, had a career, would have been going up for the E6 board coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was just kind of one of those where it's like, nope.
Yeah.
And they wanted to try to hold the job over my head, and I'm kind of like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm out. So, that first little bit, I had a couple of jobs where it was just kind of like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah.
You guys are idiots. You're morons. Like there were a few times where I felt like I was dealing with an E-fuzzy, which is an E1, someone who doesn't know the difference between a hole in the ground and their butt. They barely know how to put the right uniform on.
Right.
To all of a sudden, these were adults theoretically running stuff, and it's like, you're a moron. You're useless. So, that kind of switched things, changed things up. It was back to kind of the time before I went into the military.
Okay.
It took me a little bit to kind of find my groove again. About a year and a half after I got out, after having a couple of different jobs, this, that, and the other, I went back to working for myself, doing insurance investments and some other stuff. And I was like, all right, now I'm back to controlling things.
Master of none. What is that saying called? I can't remember.
The saying, the old saying, and I love the saying, but I always screw the last half of it up. But jack of all trades is, jack of all trades, master of none. The second half of it, which is oftentimes better than a master of one. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of one of those. I am kind of one of those. I've got all kinds of skills. I really love messing with people when I tell them what I've done career-wise. Since being an adult, since graduating college, I've owned my own production company, done events, productions, concerts, trade shows, to then going playing with helicopters, to then doing retail side while trying to get some other stuff, doing insurance, investments, budgeting, to now digital marketing, website, coding, programming, to also finishing up an MBA, so actually now I have a degree from the accredited university, and being able to bring some extra knowledge to a lot of businesses.
For sure. I know when I first started with y'all, I was doing a little bit more SEO stuff, and I actually enjoy learning about SEO. It's one of the things where it irritates the life out of me, but once I got it, I'm like, I'm cool, but it's like I've tried to listen to books on it, and it's just like, y'all, I'm a person. Sometimes it's like I see things in gray, but to learn it, I need to see things in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think outside the box until I understand what's in the box first.
Correct.
It's like I don't understand what's in this SEO box. You know what I'm saying? Once I think I got it, it's something else. It's like it's like a fun kind of thing to do, and then it's a very irritating thing also.
It very is, and one of the big irritating things about that is, when Google decides to change the analytics, when they change the algorithm, all of a sudden you could be ranking in the top 10.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they change the way they do things, with a big kick with AI and things of that nature, all of a sudden now it's switched the algorithm around. So now it becomes, how do we increase the digital footprint to be able to be in some of those AI pull-ups, as opposed to just, oh, are all the pictures right? Do we have all the right content? And now all of a sudden things have kind of shifted, and as AI becomes more and more popular or more involved in things, then it's a constantly evolving kind of thing on the end.
Let's talk about AI for a minute. I like, okay, so I think I have a love-hate relationship. Because the way I use it for my podcast and things and ask questions and stuff, I'm using it as a tool, not the be-all, end-all. And I think that's what some people may have a problem with it. Was like, well, you're not being creative. It's to help you be creative.
Yep.
But you're not creative enough. You just using AI to do this. And like, I was looking at an ad yesterday on YouTube, and this guy was like, yeah, I use AI to run my whole business. And I'm like, why would you ever do that?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of features for AI that can be very useful and very helpful in making some of the things easier, where all of a sudden, instead of you having to go into your data and, be like, okay, well, I'm going to kind of go to an old math equation here.
Okay.
We want to find out the size of this triangle, so we have to use the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
Which means that we then have to go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then you have to manually go through that. Whereas some of the AI features and some of the programs and some of the things that are coming out, it's more of, all right, instead of having to specifically tell it that, it can go, hey, what's the radius, or what's the perimeter of this triangle? Oh, great. Hey, what's my profit and loss statement for this period? And instead of having to manually create the reports, go in and tell it this or that, some of the AI can actually be a little easier in doing that.
So I like that part of it, because it takes a lot of that part out, and it gives you margin to do other things. But like that, and that's still using it as a tool.
Correct.
I'm not good at math. You said that, I got what you were saying, because when you said that, whatever it is, I forgot the equation until you said b squared. I'm like, oh, then it's that. But using it as a tool I'm all for it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we can use it as a tool to help. I use AI kind of in 2-3 different ways. When I'm working on a website, if the website doesn't have, if the business owner's like, hey, I want a website. Okay. Well, tell me about your business. I don't know. And so a lot of times it's kind of one of those where I'll take and use AI and be like, hey, go, give me a, description of this business. This is their Facebook. This is their current website. Tell me about them. Pull some of the information together. So then it kind of factors it together and helps create a basic outline. Because then all of a sudden it's like, with a lot of the business owners, all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh. Yeah. And it's able to help continue that conversation. But then it's also one of those that can be a very hard section, because some AI, you tell it to do one thing and that's what it's going to do.
Yes.
You tell it to, give me a description on this. It's going to give you the description on that.
Yeah.
It does not take implied commands in. It doesn't take implied ideas. It's go from A to B, and that's what it's going to do. It doesn't go A to B via Q, X, Y, and Z, because you didn't tell it to include those.
Yeah. On ChatGPT on my phone, it's got a lot better, because it knows me, and kind of knows my thought process. I'm still specific as much as I can be, but it's like, oh, no, not like that. Let me get it like this. Okay. So even like this podcast, after this is done, I can hit show notes. It's gonna give me a list of titles, a summary of the thing, some keywords, some sound bites. I usually use something like my sound bites as a title for my episode.
Yeah.
Because I think the titles that they give me are a little bit generic. It may say soundbite check of all trades. So I enjoy the AI, and sometimes it's very useful just to go in there, upload this. I'm on YouTube and copy and paste the description and make sure it's correct.
And one of the things with AI too is AI has almost an application in every type of business.
Okay.
If you're not embracing AI in some shape or form, you're gonna get left behind.
For sure.
Your business is gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we are starting to incorporate it into everything.
Mm-hmm.
AI is getting incorporated into being able to do some of the accounting stuff, to do things, instead of having to go specific, old rules of how we do things,
mm-hmm.
like, if you're using QuickBooks, all of a sudden it'd be like, hey, if it's this vendor, it's this.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden it starts looking at kind of things and starts, being productive with it. If it's, there's things as far as AI out as far as calendars nowadays,
Okay.
or doing emails, or creating email responses, being able to use AI on a website to be a little chat bot,
Mm-hmm.
so that way it is geared towards your business. It keeps the voice of your business, so that way, instead of it being like, oh, I was talking to a robot, I can tell I was talking to an AI.
Yeah.
You dump in enough information to it where it kind of starts picking up your voice, it starts
mm-hmm.
picking up the lingo
Yeah.
of your business, and then it becomes better. And then it's kind of constantly evolving versus, well, this is what I know I can do, and that's all it does.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it goes, oh, well, let's expand this. Oh, well, let's include this.
Yeah. So, in other words, it's like you got to embrace it.
If you don't embrace it, you're going to be left behind. Your competition is going to be embracing it.
That's not to cut you off, but a lot of older people don't use it. So, as time go on, they may not understand it or whatever. But I think a lot of the older generation aren't using it. I mean, some of them are. You can't never say everybody's not. But I think the older generation will phase out because they don't like technology in the first place.
There's a lot of people who are older than I am, mm-hmm. who pretty much use ChatGPT as the new Google.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, tell me about this, or tell me about that, or what's this? It's how you can actually use the tools.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the tools of, if you are in, I'm going to use Cleveland here. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say you're here in Cleveland, Tennessee, and you have a power washing business.
Yeah.
You can use ChatGPT and go, hey, what other businesses are in the area? What do they have on their website that I don't have on their website?
Yeah.
How are they succeeding and I'm not? What's some of the differences? What are they offering? Or,
So, like, with my cleaning company, like, I even have charts, like, what's the market for in Cleveland, Tennessee, for cleaning rates? Because I'm like, I don't know. I have never, have somebody come in and clean up or stuff like that. So that's one of my things where in my mind I'm like, I need help with this.
Yep.
How do I even go about doing this or figure out my prices?
And that is one nice feature that you can use ChatGPT for, mm-hmm. is to do that. You can also use it to go, I'm offering this. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that I'm missing? Mm-hmm. Is there other things that I could be offering? Who should be my target audience?
Yeah.
How can I target that audience? And some of those things actually help build things out, which may increase your thinking, increase your looking, your what you're seeing. I know it's not necessarily the same, but you can also use ChatGPT or some of the AI functions of, there's 10 solutions to any problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with an analogy, I don't even know how long ago, of, there's 10 solutions to any problem. Solution 1, 2, and 3 are on the infield of the baseball field.
Yeah.
4 and 5 are in the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
6, 7, and 8 are in the stands someplace. Or 6 and 7 are in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
8 and 9's in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
10 is somewhere in town.
Yeah.
So even using that to help get outside of your own thinking,
Mm-hmm.
broadening who you can market to, what you do, what you offer, how you can offer it, even ways that you can help bring it into your business,
Mm-hmm.
any business, to be a useful tool so that way you're then not all of a sudden stuck.
Yes, sir. I get that. Another cool thing, I was playing around with it, just saying, what are some grounds, like I was like, contracts, what are some grounds to be terminated? They gave me a list of things.
Yep.
And like, would you like us to make this in a PDF? And they put it in a PDF for me and everything. And it was legit, like, this is cool.
It's a great thing. It's ChatGPT is a great tool. Actually, almost all of them are a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
But also one of those things of, they can do so much, but then it also does come back to having those trusted resources.
Yeah.
Having a lawyer that you can go, hey, this is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
What did we miss?
Yeah.
What is specific in this state that we missed?
Mm-hmm.
Or, is this correct? What needs to be adjusted or things of that nature.
Yeah.
Having that, one thing that I found with a lot of the vet businesses like that is they want to do a lot of small businesses want to do everything themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's how I started building websites 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started building my own website for my company.
Yeah.
Back before WordPress was around,
Mm-hmm.
when it was HTML, PHP.
Okay.
Way back where there was, but then it's, how can I use this? What can I stay up with?
Mm-hmm.
Being also able to have that group of people who are experts.
Yeah.
You have an accountant, you have a lawyer, have a marketing company, because you know what? If you build decks, if you build houses, you don't want to learn how to build a website,
Yeah.
do your marketing, because your time is better spent getting a contract, going and seeing customers, building houses, keeping your people engaged. So being able to have those experts who they're SMAs in their area, so they can help you be more productive and more successful.
Yeah, for sure. So with the media company, marketing company, what is some, obviously I know, but I'm going to ask you because I'm getting ready to wind down. I'm taking too much of your time. But what are some of the free kind of features that y'all?
So some of the stuff that we do that is on the free side of things is within our Facebook group, we are doing kind of like town hall meetings where general questions and answers. What do you have like that? I'm actually working on doing a series of videos that I'm going to be putting out that's going to be taking a lot of the things that led to my first business failure of how do you look at your, project? Is your project actually profitable?
Okay.
Are you being profitable? What does your accounting need to look like? What's some of the basic business things? Working on some of those, so then that way we can put those out there. So then it's I never thought of that. Or, hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is we want to be able to strengthen the veteran community.
Yes, sir.
So that way, we go from having a purpose, knowing what we're doing to, I want to run a business. Okay, well, what kind of business? What do you want to do? And being able to help form and structure some of that. Another thing that we do right now is also we're doing website audits for people. We don't necessarily just we give it away to you, but we also want to sit down and have a conversation with you, because if I handed you a report, it might as well be Greek to you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what it means or how to fix it,
yeah,
I'm giving you a tool,
yeah,
but not teaching you how to use that tool.
Yes, sir.
It's one of those, and sometimes if you have a hammer, but you have a box of screws, yeah, you can use those screws with that hammer.
Yeah.
It'll go together,
Mhm.
but it's not the best way.
Yes, sir. So like that, I think bigger the company, and I try to come in and do what I can. Sometimes I've been trying to input a little bit on the Facebook group and stuff like that. I guess I enjoy it. It gives me purpose to do something. I'm a person with disability that aspires to be off disability. So I'm trying to do things right now in my life, not to be like relying on the government and things like that. That's never been my style.
Yeah.
I've had jobs off and on, but so disability has helped me when I haven't had a job. But right now, just like I don't want to do it. I want to be like financially free.
Yeah.
And things like that. So you guys definitely helped me with that. Definitely helped me, with things with my personal goals. So I appreciate you guys for helping me with that. Before we go get off, is there any questions you want to ask me?
I mean, I guess I probably the biggest question I'd have for you is, you've been kind of on the receiving side of kind of some of the things we do and how we do it. Yeah, you're on the inside, but you're also kind of on the outside also.
Mm-hmm.
With some of the things that you've done with us or seen us do, even with customers, what would be your biggest thing that you think the biggest value that we bring in?
Well, I think the biggest value, you just said it, like not just showing people, like talking about the report, not just giving the report, but like explaining, sitting down, having those conversations. Because I'm a big relationship type of person. So for me, that's building a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think building a relationship is marketing.
Yeah.
It is, and it's free.
Yep.
It costs nothing to build relationships. I get out here to some of these. So my biggest place I like to go, right around the corner from OCL, Coach Cigar Lounge, is Billy's Sweet Treat.
Yep.
And one thing about it is they love me there because I always refer people to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people to go there. So when I told them about my business, first thing she said was, when you get business cards, when you get stuff, give them to me and I will put them up and we will recommend you.
Yep.
A relationship is obviously we need money to pay our bills and things like that, but relationships are what matters.
Yes.
So when you build a relationship and people can trust you, they will say yes to you.
Yes.
So that's my biggest takeaway from, like, y'all could be the greatest company, but if you have no relationships, I don't think that you survive.
Correct. And in those relationship side of things, it's having the relationships. But one of the things that me and Steven try to aim for with everything that we do is if what we are charging someone for something, service or like that,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not able to 10x what they spent on it,
Mm-hmm.
then we're overcharging.
Yeah.
And being able to have that referral network, those people that we know, that we trust,
Yeah.
Knowing within the veteran community that, within the veteran community, we are very much, if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it.
Yeah. I feel that. I like that. So this is my last thing. I know we got to get off here. Just give me something to leave the viewers with, or future viewers.
I would say probably one of the biggest things is staying true to within your business, staying true to that business,
Mm-hmm.
with what you want to do, what your purpose is, and what value you bring.
Okay.
Because if you're not bringing a good value to your clients, then you're not going to have that relationship for very long.
Yes, sir.
Give the value, give the relationship, bring the more value, because then all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier to go, oh yeah, hey, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Sure. I like that. Well, Jonathan, I thank you for stopping by and for getting on the show with me and having a conversation. If you ever want to come back on, just let me know. We talk some more about some things.
Sounds great.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me, Luke.
No problem. No problem.